in the entire Middle East. Let's watch. Haim Saban, hello. We are now in the Conference for Policy and Strategy, and the key factor was always the United States. Do you see some order of priorities and things that happened between Israel and the United States? Did we draw the lessons? I think there are a few cracks that I can see, but you know that cracks in a house can become big, can become a real threat. What do you think? Where should we go? How should we analyze the situation? I don't think that there's a problem with the Republican Party, but I know there is a problem with the Democratic Party, but not with all of it. Only the left extreme wing, what they call the squad. And you cannot convince them to support Israel. So you have to make all sorts of deals with them so that they remain neutral. As Nancy Pelosi told me more than one time, when I suggested she come to Washington and make a speech about the right way of thinking and to talk against the policy, why is this against the American interest? When I speak to Americans, I always talk about the American interest, why it's important to America to be in strategic relations with Israel. And she said to me, look, the one who decides at the end of the day is the leaders. You're going to go and start preaching to them, explaining to them, ignore them. It's the best thing. I think and I hope that the new ambassador is going to do his job. The information with this group that they don't understand. They have no idea what's actually happening here. You know, they have somebody there whose grandmother lives in the West Bank. And she had some problems when she had to come into Israel, and that drives them nuts. But there's a way to sit with them. But Nancy Pelosi said, no, you give them a platform, you should just ignore them. So I hope that the new ambassador will do whatever he should do in order to convince this group that it's an American interest. And I would say to them, you are elected in America. Think about America and the importance for America with the relations with Israel. Now, regarding the Iranian issue, you know that America withdrew from the deal. A military option without an American support is not possible. The Arab world is losing force. So how do we come back to a common denominator that can cope with the Iranian threat, and God forbid it becomes an existential threat? How do we find an operative common denominator apart from hasbara, from information? The first thing is that before the Iranian problem, Biden has a long list of problems he has to deal with. What's going to happen in 2022, elections to the Congress, the pandemic, which is not over yet, the budgets for infrastructure, that he finds it difficult to pass, China, and the behavior in Taiwan, North Korea. It's a long, long list. And he has to put off the problem with Iran in one way or another, because it's not in the head of the list. It's not on the top of his priorities, so that's the first problem. For Israel, it is number one. For Biden, it's number 6, 7, 8. It's not his first priority. The second thing is that the United States behaves as if Iran is a superpower. And let me tell you word to word what I said in a Zoom that I had with Biden last week. I said to him, I don't know who the superpower is, Iran or the United States. You're sitting and waiting for Iran will deem it fit to sit with you for negotiations. It's a topsy-turvy world. How can you even think about it? How can you understand it? Another thing, who am I to say we should attack militarily or not? I'm not the expert, but I can have an opinion. It's the show of force. You have to show force. One that flies in the Middle East and it's backed by 2 F-15s of the IDF, Israeli Air Force, that's a show of force. Much more than that. Show them that you have the force and the capability to turn to a military offense. But you're not even doing that. You're waiting. You're sitting and waiting for the Iranians to be nice and come and sit at the table. So what should we do then? What did he say, Biden? He said Iran is a very complicated issue that I would love to talk to you about, but not at this time. I'll be happy to talk to you, but not at the moment. So I recorded it. I wrote it down. I said it's not that far to go to Washington to actually meet with him. And I want to know what he has to say, but the United States is behaving as if Iran is the superpower. From time to time, we talk about the Palestinian issue. Where is the place of Israel and the Palestinians in the new government administration, if you compare it to the former one? The same place I am since 1967. We have to separate. We have to separate. I don't know what it is, 2 states for 2 peoples, 1 state. We have to separate. When I talk to right-wingers in Israel who talk about 1 state for 2 peoples, I don't get an answer ever. What is the solution apart from apartheid? They have no answer. Nobody has an answer. And I spoke to many people from the right, the moderate right, the extreme right. They believe in 1 state. They don't have an answer. Unless we separate from the Palestinians, it's going to be 1 state for 2 peoples. And I don't know if the state of Israel is ready to have Ahmed Tibi as a Minister of Defense. I like Tibi very much personally, but I don't know if the state of Israel can appoint him as Minister of Defense or Mansour Abbas as a Prime Minister. I don't see the solution. How do the Americans see it? It's true it's not first in their order of priorities, but what do they say? It doesn't help. This is the Palestinian issue is on the sideway. The Palestinian issue is in place 211, maybe. Apart from, of course, the rhetorics. Rhetorics is something else. Yes, 2 peoples, for 2 states, 2 peoples. I spoke to but that consulate in Jerusalem, and he said, no, we have to do it, but not now. Okay. They're not interested. Forget it. What? He's got many things on his plate. Well, we can continue to speak until tomorrow evening. As we say, how long is this going to hold? What do you think will happen? Give me your opinion for years to come. What's going to be now with the new government in Israel? Well, the relations is a strategic alliance. The more we align with them on their interests, and as much as possible about values, everything will be okay. On the day, God forbid, that the state of Israel will become a binational state and will not give the right of vote to all the Arabs from the Mediterranean to Jordan, then I hope the state doesn't come. What is the weight of the Chinese challenge in all this? China is a big problem. As far as America is concerned, there's Taiwan and all sorts of other problems there. What they are doing, the Americans, they talk with all their allies without getting into details that NBC spoke to me about, and they exert great pressures on the Emirates about their relations with China. You know, the agreement of the F-35, they made it as a condition. The conditions of the F-35 to change the relationship between the UAE and China, that was one of the conditions, but they cannot do it, the UAE. And that's why the F-35 deal is stuck. And I suppose that the pressure of China on Israel is identical. Unfortunately, the time is short. What is your central recommendation regarding the policy of the government of Israel regarding the relations with the United States regarding our national security? Two main things: to align with the U.S. at the level of differences and the level of values, to have the same interests on the same page with the U.S. And the second thing is to work properly in the Congress by the ambassador, the new one. He's very talented and he can do it, to make sure that the Congress, most of it, will continue to support Israel. Haim Saban, as usual, very enlightening. I thank you for your words. Thank you.